Welcome to Let's Talk Procurement.
The only show you need to master the art of procurement.
Present is Luke 1 and Luke 10 at time 15:03 on whatever day it is.
24th of November.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Sorry, I'm still trying to decide which joke I'm going to use for the opener. But anyway, while I'm doing that, how are you, mate? You alright?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm reading some of these listener messages that we've been sent in, and I'm enjoying them. Have you had a chance to look at the inbox yet?
No, I've not actually. No. I kind of leave that to you and editor.
Well, someone called Jennifer has emailed in, and I think she's come up with a brilliant suggestion. What it is she said, basically, why aren't procurement people, like, why don't we just get the massive guys in the gym to be procurement people? Because then if they need any if suppliers need negotiating with, if you walk in, you're 7 foot and you've got like biceps the size of the supplier's salesman's head, they're going to give you a good price, aren't they?
So you want to intimidate them to a good price?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, why not? I'm sure that'll work. I feel like well, I know you're probably a different generation to me anyway, but I feel like the younger generations, they're all into the gym a bit more than previous gens, aren't they? I feel like
I am a gym lad, to be fair.
Yeah, it doesn't show, but I kind of get what you mean. I think you're more of a cardio queen.
Yeah. I mean, it's squats all day for me. Got to get that big bank.
Oh, you do want to be procurement's hottest male, right?
I mean, I feel like if we are in that competition, it's a bit unfair. Are we the judges of the procurement's hottest man competition?
We'll have to decide on that. Maybe just get some non-procurement professionals in to judge, I think.
Yeah.
So I know it's Friday. So are you thinking of doing anything fun tonight? Slightly off topic, but...
No. I might start a trend, actually. I might start a trend of, because you know when it's me and I'm talking, I often can't think of the right word to say. I don't know if you've picked up on that. So the trend I might start, and bear in mind the fact that I do not speak any languages at all.
Yeah.
And my language skills are very bad. I barely pass French GCSE. But I might start saying, how do you say it in English? Because I feel like that's so much better than saying, oh, I can't think of the word.
Yeah, if you want to give that a go next time, I'm up for that. Speaking of
how do you say it in
Friday,
English?
But I did say it in English. I see what. Yeah, that might be annoying. I don't know. But yeah, I was going to go to the cinema tonight. That was the plan.
Or are we on the cinema now? FTP on the big screen?
I wish. No, I was going to go to the cinema with some friends. We were going to see that new film, Constipation. But you probably haven't heard of it because it's not out yet.
Hey.
There we go.
Oh, that was a good setup. Yeah.
Right. What are we getting into today then?
So today we're back on what are we calling them now? Are we allowed to call them?
Well, I've gone with duck ups. Because it looks a bit better on the website and the audio player. It just feels a little bit better.
It might restrict the content to some people if it's literally got a swear in the title.
Yeah, I think it might not even publish it, to be honest. So I think we'll stick with duck, but all the listeners will know what that really means, right?
Yep. I mean, maybe we'll have to write a key somewhere, but seems doable.
LTP terms. So what are you ducking us up on today?
I feel like someone is banging on my door trying to get in, but actually I was going to say I'm not going to answer, but let me go and answer quickly.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
Someone who's locked out. Am I ending the recording?
No, it's fine, mate. I'll make my lunch while you're going. Guess I'll just tell everyone about the sock I ate yesterday. Didn't taste nice. Then I tried to find my camo pants, but I couldn't see them. It's a good one, actually. What do you call a pig that does karate?
Go on.
A pork chop.
That is bad. And now I'm out of breath. There was no one there, so it'll remain a mystery.
Literally just wasted half my life.
Was that all your time finding that joke?
Yeah. No, there was a couple more that I had, but I did reel them off. But one of them was so bad that I didn't even say it properly.
You messed the joke up.
No. To be honest, I don't even understand the joke.
Right, go on. I didn't hear it.
Oh shit! Here we go again.
I ate a sock yesterday. It was very time consuming. Is that it? I don't know, mate. It's awful. I ate a sock yesterday. It was very time consuming.
Well, maybe this should stay in the final edit, and we'll see if anyone actually knows what it means.
But yeah, I just changed it to I ate a sock yesterday. It didn't taste very nice because I just thinking of all the things I picked. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Finally, about 7 minutes in. Right. So, I want to kind of start by asking your opinion about what you'd do in the following situation. Don't know when the listeners are listening to this, but it's bordering on Christmas time at the moment. So imagine you and the wife, you had a really nice day. You're feeling the love. Decide to go and purchase a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
But there's one problem. You're at the place buying the Christmas tree, and you've forgotten to measure the room that you want to put the Christmas tree in. Would you, A, think sensibly and to go, oh no, let's go back home and measure the room that we want to put the Christmas tree in, or B, would you just guess and not measure and take the risk that it's not gonna fit?
The thing is, I know what the correct answer probably is, but there's a couple of things. So obviously, being in front of a woman that I care for dearly, I would probably like to think that I would just go, oh, I know the height of the roof. It's 7 foot.
Oh yeah, act manly. Yeah,
with absolute confidence. Obviously, just having no idea, and then also once you get in a shop, it's really hard to get her out of a shop. So I wouldn't want to go through that twice in a day.
Okay.
Oh, and
so
third,
you would go.
Actually, sorry, third. If somebody took that Christmas tree while we were going home to remeasure, like, you might as well just cancel Christmas. What's the point?
Yeah, you wouldn't hear the end of it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Although I feel she might listen to this, so I do love the girl deeply.
So you're going for option B then, are you? So you just kind of go ahead and you just guess you wouldn't measure the room.
Yeah. To be honest, it can't be that bad, can it? Like, you just go up to the bloke who works there and say, "Oh, mate, what's the height of a standard room?" If you don't know, I'll Google it, and I'll be like, right, I'll have a tree that's less than the height of a standard living room.
Standard room. Well, in that case, I'm pleased to say congratulations to you, because that means you can qualify for a job in the Spanish Transport's train procurement department.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah, applause. I'm clapping.
Thank you. I'm clapping cheeks too.
So in January 2023, it was revealed that trains that were being built as part of a contract that was worth 258 million euros were too wild. It might be a different train. Too wide for the tunnels they're meant to be passing through. It just goes to show that girth really does matter.
Goddamn right.
Wow. So can we just go over that one more time? So you're telling me that a company decided to make trains that are wider than they needed to be?
Yeah. So kind of what happened was, so I'll go through the companies involved first to kind of set the scene a little bit more. Yeah. The companies involved were the Spanish state's infrastructure company called ADIF, Renfe, which is a train operator, and CAF, which is the train manufacturer. So in 2020, Renfe, the train operator, announced that they were going to, quote, modernise the rolling stock on narrow gauge commuter trains and medium distance trains in Asturias and Cantabria. And I did do my research. I went onto Google and said, how do you say Asturias and Cantabria? So hopefully I'm not offending any Spanish people with the
What does that mean in
pronunciation of those names. It's just a place. Those are the
Okay.
that's the location. But basically it's in the north of Spain. So those regions are quite mountainous, and a lot of the tunnels were kind of built in the 19th century. So they accommodated smaller trains, which kind of raises the question for me: if the trains can't run in the mountains, then should the train in Spain run only on the plain? I can't take credit for that, by the way. I saw that written on as a comment somewhere.
No, I mean, that's a fantastic question. I don't know the answer to that. It's blown my mind.
So, the train manufacturer CAF queried the dimensions of the train at an early stage and basically warned that the dimensions might not be correct. That, to me, kind of shows the importance of checking the specification that you've got, listening to the stakeholder views, but also maybe they should have just listened and then they would have chosen the right train in the first place.
Dear God.
Just went silent.
No, sorry, I was just throwing up in the background. Okay, carry on. Sorry, that was brilliant. Well done.
So the kind of impact on the companies, and a couple of reactions. So 2 of the senior bosses were fired from the Transport Secretary of State was fired, and the president of Renfe, the train operator, were fired.
Oh, really? What's meant?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe unusually, but I did. A lot of the local people were kind of outraged by this. I did manage to speak to one Spanish woman about what she thought about this kind of stuff. She kept saying nada, but it meant nothing to me.
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Mate, I was just thinking, how bloody hell have you spoken to a Spanish woman? No, nice one.
It's always the pause at the end of the jokes, isn't it? That's why I have to...
It's better, I'm not going to lie, it's better than the KFC ones.
You reckon? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
So far.
So kind of what will happen next is the next kind of point that I wanted to go over. Luckily, the trains hadn't actually been built by the time the problem was identified, which obviously is a positive. The Spanish government said that not a single euro of Spaniards' money had been wasted. That's kind of if you don't take into account any of the research, design costs, or the fact that in order to apologise to the people of the region, they announced that travel in Asturias and Cantabria would be free until 2026, which is when the new trains are now expected to start running.
So they didn't actually build any of these girthy trains?
No.
They just
spent a lot of money on the research.
On the wrong thing.
Yeah. I did, in my research, I found out that it's not only the Spanish that built trains that were too big. Also, it's apparently a French tradition as well. The French did it in 2014. SNCF. Well, I don't actually know about French traditions, but I'm assuming. Yeah, every year when you build a new train, they make it wider. So in 2014, SNCF, which is the train operator in France, ordered 2,000 trains, and they paid 15 billion euros for that. And those trains were too wide for the platforms. So they I think probably impacted them more than the Spanish, because
that's a lot of money.
What they had to do after that was spend 50 million euros rebuilding the kind of platforms and the stations and stuff, so the trains could get in. So again on the French stuff, the error. I found this from a BBC report. The error seems to have happened because the national rail operator RFF gave the wrong dimensions to train company SNCF, and one of the correspondents said they measured the platforms built less than 30 years ago, overlooking the fact that many of France's regional platforms were built more than 50 years ago when trains were a little slimmer. And And being a French official, this guy came out and said, the platform edges are too close to the tracks in some stations, which means the trains cannot get in. And a spokesperson said they had discovered the problem a bit late, which seems like they're stating the obvious.
Well, they're trying to play it down a little bit there, aren't they? It's a little, just a little bit late.
Yeah, the marketing department's working overdrive on that one. There has been, in fairness to them, there has been one positive that has come out of this. Do you want to know what it is?
Go on.
It's I've come up with a business idea.
Oh no. Okay.
Tape measure sales to northern Spain, because going back to the Spanish one, obviously, what they decided to do with the trains that were too wide, or the tunnels that were too small, instead of then going to measure the tunnels, what they're actually deciding to do is manufacture the trains using the dimensions of a train that already runs on the network for comparison, to ensure they fit through the various tunnels, it says. So it seems like no one's really got a tape measure in Spain. So that's my business idea.
Spanish tape measures.
Yeah.
What do they measure in? That's a question, isn't it? Are they centimetres, metres, inches?
Oh yeah, it's got to be centimetres. No, they're Europeans, aren't they? Central Europeans love the metric system.
Is that true?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, been to Europe a couple of times.
Nice. I feel like that's given me an idea for another duck up on another episode, actually, that I can get you to
get me to research.
Kind of HS2.
That might be a bit political.
No, ignore the politics of it. Right, there's 2 billion or whatever it is being chucked at this thing, but it's just constant delays.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have to research into that before we pick a side.
I don't think we need to pick a side, but it's just, they're just building track in old ladies' gardens without their permission,
Well, if they can't see to the end of the garden, then who's going to stop them?
Yeah, true.
So now I have a question for you. Well, 2 questions actually. How do you think that could be prevented, or the French one and the Spanish one? How could that be prevented in the future? And the second question is, which SIPS topic does it apply to?
So the French one was interesting because it was the fault of the people who were basically trying to buy the trains.
I think someone gave them the wrong measurements, in fairness.
But
I don't know if they then...
If I'm buying, I don't know, if I need to buy red hair dye and somebody says, oh, you need to buy this brand of red hair dye, and I listen to them, it's still my fault if I've selected that brand of hair dye, unless I've got a contract in place with the person and I've paid them to recommend me that particular hair dye, right?
Yeah, true.
So I feel like as the company who basically just did what they were asked to do, I feel like they would be okay. I know it's a bit of a selfish perspective, but I think from a liability position, they're probably okay. I don't know, obviously, without going into it. And it's just stupidity from the government. Is it government?
Which one, the French or Spanish?
The French one.
The
FFA of me.
RFF.
I feel like that's okay from a supplier's perspective, but if you are the person who sent out that purchase request and you run a tender or something like that to get to this position, you've made a catastrophic error.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be checking these things for such a sizable deal. I mean, even for a small deal, you've got to be doing it. But before you send out a specification, you've got to be checking it with, it almost feels like maybe the person was just in a hurry to get something out the door and over the line.
Yeah.
But you've got to be liaising with your stakeholders. I mean, before you send out a tender or an RFI or whatever you want to call it, you've got to be asking for technical support, delivery support, security support, whatever's kind of appropriate, and making sure that they are there marking the homework. Because I'm sure there's probably rail techies in that company that know the width of a rail track off the top of their head.
Yeah,
and will probably just challenge it through looking at it. So it's interesting. In terms of it's quite a good case study for the importance of accurate specifications.
So in an exam answer, you'd kind of talk about this from that perspective.
Yeah, I think so. From specification perspectives, or from on the other side of it, so the Spanish one, that's more around contractual non-conformance. So, they've asked for something and then they've had something different that's been built, something that's not to spec.
Yeah. Do you think the person who kind of was responsible for the wrong measurements, do you think since this disaster's happened they've gone off the rails?
Right, let's stay on track, mate.
Hey, there he is. He's back.
No, it's but there will be scenarios that kind of comes up with in exams. It's about, you've always got to think of that. Why is that case study important? What went wrong? And like you said, what could someone do better next time? And the whole doing it better next time is probably two things. It's getting your prototypes right, or maybe doing a call it like a prototype order before you go full scale. Before you order 15,000 items, just order one and make sure it works.
Yeah, in this, it's only really applicable for train kind of measurements, but they do have this thing called a porcupine, I think, which is just like a smaller train with things sticking out of the side that will drive around the tracks, and like whatever hits the porcupine sticky out bits, that's how they know what the measurement is. So I don't know why they didn't use that. Maybe it was just a bit lazy and they were thinking that they already knew the measurements when they didn't.
Yeah, either way, you've got to be checking that. The value alone is enough reason to check it, let alone the fact you should be kind of checking it anyway.
Yeah, I think, how could you sort of get it into a SIPS topic? I was thinking again what you said about specifications, but also I don't know if this is a topic that you could kind of fit in there, but stakeholder engagement, because if they'd had the right people on board, literally, that wasn't even
written for weeks.
We'll pretend I meant to say that. If they had the right people on board, then it seems like this wouldn't have happened.
No, that's fair. Definitely stakeholder management, and also kind of project and change management as well, to the life cycle of a project. Are you monitoring your risks and making sure that you're kind of sticking on track? And if you're not, what can you do to kind of stop deviating from the critical path? It's kind of another thing that you can kind of align, because there would have been a stage where, like you said, that email came through saying, "Oh, I think we might have the wrong dimensions." Right.
Yeah. So
why did they carry on? Why did they continue boarding with this idea? It's just mad.
Yes. CAF, the train manufacturer, queried them at an early stage. So yeah, I bet they were smug when all this stuff came out.
Yeah, you would be, but the fact they've gone on for so long, it's such a pain in the backside for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, and I know that the north of Spain, in that region, like that caused a lot of people to kind of lose faith in the government. So obviously when we were talking about KFC, it was a bit embarrassing for the company, generally. But something like this, when the government are doing procurements like that mess up, potentially, I don't know what you think, but potentially could be seen to have higher consequences, maybe because of the money that they're spending. I don't know how much of the contract was meant to be spent on the trains or how much was actually spent, but it's a 258 million euro contract for the Spanish one, and they paid 15 billion for the French trains. Obviously another at least 50 million to repair the platforms. Some people went to say that it would be a lot higher than 50 as well.
So I don't know the ins and outs of kind of French or Spanish governments, but I assume it was probably taxpayers' money, right?
Yeah, they did. As I said, the government said not a single euro of Spaniards' money has been wasted, but it's not.
It clearly has. Yeah.
As we know, it's not just the build cost. Obviously, you've got all the research and the marketing and the free travel that they've had to do until 2026 now.
Yeah, I guess that kind of is almost like paying the taxpayer back, isn't it? But doesn't make
still
it
cost the taxpayer though, doesn't it? Because who are the ones funding that free travel?
I think the interesting bit as well would be what was kind of the tender process for selecting these suppliers. And I know that it's more the governments that were at fault, but did they just did they do it on the back of a conversation with a supplier and said, look, you sell trains, let's have a few? Sort of the back of a fag packet deal, as they like to say, or was it actually a full-blown tender with a full spec that was, like say, negotiated with loads of stakeholders and time and investment was put into it? Because I do feel like the more due diligence you put into selecting a supplier, the less likely you are to do something stupid like this.
Yeah, you'd like to think so anyway, especially due diligence with the kind of specification as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I wonder what type of specification was sent out. I think it's called was it conformance specification? Testing your knowledge.
Yeah, conformance and performance, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. So conforming is obviously just we tell you what we want. We put everything to the nth degree. So it needs to be X, Y, Z. It needs to be shiny. It needs to be this wide, and it needs to fly. Then they have to go and do it. Whereas performance is effectively, we need a train track that can take you from A to B. We don't care how you do it, just go and do it.
Yeah. So are you saying that you think they should have done a performance spec in this rather than conformance? Not that we know which one was actually.
Well, I don't know which one was done, but a performance spec would kind of pushes the pressure and potentially reliability over onto the suppliers themselves, and then the suppliers would be more cautious about proceeding, even if they had the slightest doubt about the dimensions.
Yeah, because it's on their liability if it messes up.
Yeah, so that's just something to be mindful of as well. And I know different types of specifications comes up in sort of, I think, every level of SIPs, to be honest.
Cool. Well, that's everything I had.
No, nice. That was a good one, actually. Can we just go over the names of the Spanish companies again, so we can kind of drill them into our listeners for their bank?
Yes. So on the Spanish, I'll go through the numbers as well because I'm just that type of guy. So Renfe is the train operator. Spain's state infrastructure company, ADIF, ADIF. CAF was a train manufacturer, and the regions were Asturias and Cantabria in the north of Spain. The contract was worth 258 million euros, although I couldn't find anywhere that said how much of that was wasted. And it was revealed in 2023 in January, but I think it was kind of known internally in 2020, so kind of 2021 time. And what it's meant is a delay, and the trains won't be ready until 2026 now. And then the French one was SNCF, the train operator. This happened in 2014. SNCF paid 15 billion euros for 2,000 trains that were too wide for the platforms, and they spent at least 50 million euros, potentially much more, to rebuild the platforms on the French network. And RFF gave them the wrong dimensions.
Incredible. Rail for Frenchies, absolute mistake right there.
Seems like a beginner's error.
Yeah, they must have been steaming.
Amateur.
Brilliant. No, I think that's a wrap, isn't it? Do you have one of your classic if you like someone, or if you don't like someone?
Cheers for a reminder, Jeff. So send this to someone if you think their hair smells nice, or if you have ever been to France or Spain.
On that note, see you later.
See you later.